A few summers ago, my old phone of 2 years began ringing. I had a new one, but my old one rang. I had to dig through my closet to even find it. A private number was calling the phone. I answered it, thinking it could have been an old friend who didn't have my new number yet. But it was a man with a strange accent I didn't recognize. He knew my name, knew my story, knew where I lived, etc. I was genuinely worried, so I asked him how he got all this information. He said we had met the night before at a house party, which I was at one, but I was with my friends, and I wasn't even drunk. I remember the whole night. We went back and forth for a few minutes, when he told me to meet him down by the river in 5 minutes and hung up. I knew exactly where he meant. I'm not usually easily intimidated, but this had me panicking. I asked my friends who went to the party with me if they were playing a prank, and they told me they were being serious about it not being them. I knew they were being genuine too, because they all offered to show up to the river with me to see who it was. There were 5 of us that went. We pulled up at a distance and slowly started walking to the spot described over the phone. It was dark and hard to see anything, but on the other side of the riverbank, we could all see a white van with tinted windows parked on the side of the road. It wasn't on, but it was still weird because no one ever parked here. There was no reason to, there was nothing nearby. We started walking up to it, and that's when the engine started and the headlights turned on. We all turned, running into a field where it couldn't follow us.
My name is Anna, and this happened a couple of years ago. For Valentine's Day, my boyfriend and I were going out to a nice and fancy Italian restaurant. I remember that at some time in the evening, my boyfriend stopped by my apartment and picked me up. We went to the restaurant and then went inside. The restaurant was very busy, as you could imagine, with it being Valentine's Day. There were lots of other people, but overall it was a very good experience because it was a really nice place. I remember that something kind of funny and strange happened though. At one point, this man wearing a suit jacket came up to our table. He had dark hair, and I assumed that he worked at the restaurant in some capacity. After he came up to our table, he asked if we would have our picture taken. We said yes, and then the man took out a small Polaroid camera from his pocket. He then had us stand up and pose before he quickly snapped a picture. Then he just turned and walked away without saying a word. I was thinking that we would give him one of our phones to take the picture, or at least he would give us the Polaroid. It was pretty strange, and my boyfriend and I started laughing about it because of how he just walked away really fast after. We figured that he must have forgot though. The next time that we saw the guy walking near us, we were going to ask him for the photo. However, for the rest of the dinner, we did not see him. I even remember looking around several times for him, and I couldn't find him. But it was very busy there after all. Soon enough, I forgot about it for the most part. We ended up leaving the restaurant without ever seeing the man or getting the photo, and we never asked anybody else who worked there about it. We drove back, and my boyfriend dropped me off at my apartment and then went back home. So after I got back, it was maybe an hour later, and I was getting ready for bed. Out of nowhere, I heard a knock on my door. I was very confused, because people usually don't knock on my door, especially not late at night like it was then. There was just one knock, and then I walked over to the door. Before opening it though, I looked through the peephole. When I did, I didn't see anybody there. It seemed really strange to me, so I opened up the door and looked out into the hallway. There was still nobody there, but I noticed something on the door. There was a small envelope taped to it. I picked it up and took it inside. When I did, I opened the envelope and saw the Polaroid picture from the restaurant that was taken of us, except my boyfriend's face was basically scribbled out. When I saw it, it really creeped me out. I didn't know what to do about it. I called my boyfriend and told him about it and asked him to come over. I didn't feel safe at my place alone, so that night my boyfriend came and spent the night at my place, so I felt better. He even walked around the entire apartment complex inside and out, but didn't see the guy. We concluded that whoever he was must have left. So the next day we went to the Italian restaurant and tried to figure out who the guy was that took our photo. We still thought that he was somebody who worked there at the time, but after speaking with several employees, we found out that the man did not work at the restaurant at all. They did not have a practice of taking people's photos, and nobody matching the description of the man worked there. That made things even more creepy to me. I was worried that some guy was secretly stalking me. How else would he know where I lived? For about a week, I stayed at my parents' house, and we even thought about getting the police involved. There wasn't much to go on though. because the man didn't really break any laws, and we had no proof that he had stalked me or followed us, so we didn't. After that, though, I never saw the man again. Eventually, I lived in my apartment again and things were fine. When the lease was up, I was moving to a nicer place anyways. To this day, I don't know exactly who that guy was or what happened there. My only guess is maybe it was a creepy guy who had once messaged me on Instagram. Over time, I've gotten creepy messages or comments from guys on Instagram. Usually, I just block them or delete it. Other than that, though, I have no idea who the guy was. I hope to never see him again. I have a really crazy story from a while back. It was a few years ago now, but I'm a female, age 23, and was 21 at the time. I was on Tinder and matched with this guy who I will call Ryan for the story. After matching, Ryan and I began talking and hit it off pretty well, but that was really only the first night. The next day, when chatting with him, I realized that he was sort of a jerk. He said a few things that were kind of rude, and overall, I just wasn't feeling it anymore. He asked me for my Snapchat, and at that point, I told him no. This frustrated him a little, and he replied saying that I was making a mistake and some other stuff as well. But he then said that we should go on a date the next night. It took me by surprise, and I said, "Really?" He then gave me a time and location for the date, which was at a nearby bar, I think. After he said that, I ignored him and did not reply. I figured that he would get the idea and move on. But the next day, he sent me another message saying, "I will see you tonight," or something like that. I thought about saying, "No, you won't," but I didn't. Instead, I continued to ignore him. He didn't say anything else until that night. He sent a text on Tinder saying, "Where are you?" I figured that he was joking, but still did not reply to him. There was a text later saying, "Why didn't you show up?" I was thinking to myself, did this guy really go out on a date and expect me to show up? He just said that we were going. I never once told him that I would go with him. The next day, he sent one final message on Tinder which said, "I'm going to find you." After that, I blocked him. I couldn't believe that I even matched with this guy in the first place anymore. So during this time, I lived in a house that I was renting with a roommate. It was smaller and had only 2 bedrooms, but we each had our own room. The very next night after that, I was home by myself as my roommate was at work. I was on my bed, just messing around on my phone. It was like 11 o'clock at night or something, and all of a sudden, I heard this noise. It sounded like it was coming from outside, like the bush next to the window was moving. My window was covered by a blanket from the inside, and it was only a few feet away from me. I got out of bed and then went over to the window. I lifted the blanket and instantly saw a man sort of crouched down next to the bush, like 3 feet away. I jumped back and was really freaked out by this. It was probably the last thing that I was expecting to see. Afterwards, maybe 10 seconds later, I heard a noise from the window. The guy was knocking on it. I reached for my phone and hit 911 as fast as I could. I heard more noises at the window, but couldn't see what was happening. After dialing, I ran out of my bedroom and headed down the hallway for the living room. When I was leaving my room and going through the doorway, I heard a loud bang from the window. He might have been trying to break it or something. I don't know. I told the 911 operator that I thought somebody may be trying to break into my house. When I was in the living room, I felt slightly safer, but not by much. I tried to get as far away from the bedroom as possible. I was told that police were on their way. I went over to one of the front windows, pulled back a curtain for a second, and looked out of it. When I did, I saw that the guy was still there and outside. He was at my same bedroom window, standing up, and I'm not sure what he was doing, but I kept watching him. And he then turned, and he saw me for a split second through the window. As he started to move, I closed the curtains and moved away. I ran to my bathroom and locked myself inside of it. There, I waited until the police arrived. I couldn't really hear much from inside, but if the guy broke in, I think I would have heard that. Eventually, the cops got there. When they did, I came out of my bathroom, ran for the front door, and let them in. But when I did, I was told that they had caught a guy in my backyard. He was the same man who I had matched with on Tinder. I guess he had been at one of my back windows now. I don't know what his plan was. I really can't believe that it all happened. After that, I deleted Tinder. I hope if anybody who hears this uses dating apps, they're very careful.